Today I'm talking about everyone's favorite topic, sales. Okay, I know. Everyone hates sales. Here's what you need to know to improve your sales and to not hate it nearly as much as you might do right now. I'm going to share the 3 big sales mistakes I see consultants make that drive away perfect clients. What stand-up comedy and weddings can teach you about discovery calls. I'll share just what you need to do to help your clients open up to you more on calls. And finally, what you can do to make the proposal writing process a snap. Join me for an episode that'll help you to hear yes more often and to feel more comfortable when you do. Hey, it's Samantha Hartley. Today I want to talk to you about how to expand your business by closing more sales. If you're like, no sales, click away, stop, make it stop, then this one is especially for you. It's critical for you. Here's the deal. I want you to be closing more sales, helping more people, enrolling more of those people who should be working with you. And when you make the mistakes that I'm going to talk about today, you drive people away unintentionally. And exactly how you're afraid of being in a sales call, like being salesy and unprepared and frazzled and all that stuff, you will be that way because you're making these mistakes. So let me just share with you how the whole thing can be better and easier if you just pay attention to the few things I'm going to talk about today. Deal? I'm going to make it easier for you. And you may not end up loving sales like I do. And some of my clients who also didn't enjoy that process have come to love. They've come to really enjoy the intimacy and the connection that is selling. I might not get you there today, but I do hope that we get you a little closer to enrolling exactly those perfect clients who should be working with you. Would you take a second to hit the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications so you don't miss any further episodes? Why sales are uncomfortable. Unless you came from a sales background, it's probably uncomfortable for you to be in a selling position. And for some people, it's really hard to sell themselves. Like that piece feels especially uncomfortable. Well, I came out of a sales position selling the easiest thing in the entire world to sell, which is Coca-Cola. Like you just basically hand it to somebody and they're either like, I love it or no. So I had a really easy time in sales and I did key accounts. So I was in very high pressure situations. And so compared to the things that I did back at corporate, when I am in selling situations, there is no pressure. There's like nothing is ever hard when I compare it to what I did before. But that's not probably the case for you. And so you're going to come with some associations about why this is difficult and why it's like you have to be a different version of yourself, you might believe. So a lot of my clients feel like they're afraid to be salesy. How are they being in the moment so that they don't end up being salesy? So I'm going to share with you 3 mistakes I see consultants making which cause those sales to break down, that causes that process to break down. They may sometimes end up closing those clients anyway eventually, but this just makes it harder and less comfortable for everyone concerned. The first mistake is winging it. They just show up for a sales call and they're like, I'm just going to get to know this person, or I think I have some questions, or yay, I'm excited. They want to talk to me about what I can do for them. And so they show up for that call. Probably you have some sort of a format you're following, I hope. But really what you need to have is a specific list of questions that you are asking those clients. And when you don't have that and you don't follow it, then you don't get consistent results. That makes me think of this wonderful book by Atul Gawande called The Checklist Manifesto. And in it, there was a hospital in the Boston area, I think, where they were trying to reduce medical mistakes. And so they brought in checklists, like here's exactly the thing that you need to do so that you don't cut off the wrong leg or leave the instruments inside the patient when you were in surgery with them and you sew those up. So they did the whole thing. And then what they found was the doctors were like, I don't need no singing checklist, and they wouldn't follow them. So they had the checklist, which could save lives and prevent mistakes, but the doctors wouldn't follow them. So I believe the solution was they got the nurses to make the doctors follow them. Here's the deal. We're not doctors. You need a checklist that says, here's what I'm doing on my call, and then you need to follow it. Recently, I have been doing sales role plays with my clients. Some of my clients have been working with me. I'm tattling on them a little while and should know better, but they have a script. And one of them said today, well, it's not really a script. It's more of just like a list of questions. I'm like, yes, it's not a script, but you need to have something in front of you that you are following, and then you need to follow it. But I'm afraid I don't want to sound scripted. I don't want to sound like I'm reading something. Let's talk about some things that seem spontaneous but are actually scripted. Broadway plays, for example, stand-up comedy. It seems like it's spontaneous, but it's actually scripted. They're following a script that they've written. You know what else? Weddings. Weddings oh, they seem like, oh, we just got up there and said we love each other. No, it's scripted. And reality TV, it seems like it's just like spontaneous and they're just doing their thing. No. They're scripted. Here's one better for all of those things I just described. Not just scripted, but what else? Rehearsed. They rehearse. They take those things like we have a wedding rehearsal. Well, how hard is it? We're going to get up there. The person's going to ask us some questions. We're going to answer. We're going to walk down. Like, how hard is that? We still do rehearsals just because it's a very high stakes situation. Same thing with stand-up comedy. They've toured the country to practice this stuff, etc. So what you're going to have, two things that are the opposite of winging it. You're going to have a script that you follow, specific questions, and you're going to practice over and over and over and over and over, asking those questions. So you're going to enlist someone, a coach like me or a colleague, and you're going to say, is it okay if I practice my sales script, whatever you want to call it, my enrollment process, my inquiry, my discovery call? Practice those things until you're so familiar with it, you are not what we call in the theater on book. When you're on book in the theater, you're like walking around with your script like this. You may have ever seen a rehearsal process where they're walking around like this and they have the script and every time it's their line, they look down and they read their thing. You don't want to be in a sales situation and be having to do that. If you're taking notes, that's one thing, but you don't want to have to refer constantly back to your script to figure out, oh my God, well, what do I say next? It's in your bones. For a good actor, a good performer, it's in their bones what they need to say next. So when I've been doing role plays with my clients lately, I've been modeling for them. We're getting ready to go somewhere together in a recent situation. And I'm just like, I'm going to sell you something. What are you about to buy? So we just do it as a casual exchange. It's in my bones because she's like, well, that's so easy for you. No. It's not, it wasn't easy. Originally, I've just done it 1,000 million times over and over again. So that's what you're going to do. Get a script of the questions you need to ask, and then you're going to rehearse it. Deal? It's going to make a world of difference for you. But don't be like the doctors where you're like, I don't need no stinking script, or I don't need to follow that thing. Be somebody who really wants to help your clients and commit to doing this. Can I tell you something great about this also? Is that my clients who have been doing this, they got better. They also hated sales at the beginning, or they sucked at them. They just were like awkward, or the sales calls didn't go well. They got better. You know somebody else who got better? I got better because I practiced them over and over again so that I could be present with my clients. The second mistake that many consultants make, which will blow sales, is that they do not create a safe environment in the discovery process. People talk a lot about psychological safety in organization. People feel like they can't bring their whole selves to work, or they don't feel like they can offer up ideas, or they can't get vulnerable. I mean, my God, would I have ever gotten vulnerable back at my old employer? Never. Well, why? Because there wasn't psychological safety. So in a discovery call, you're going to ask a potential client about things that are not working. What's failing right now? What's not working? What are your hopes and dreams for this? How much is this costing you? It's a lot of questions also, so they can feel like it's an interrogation, and they can feel like, oh my God, well, let's talk more about like how my mistakes are ruining my business or how I'm letting down the organization. That's how it can feel if it's not a safe environment. So very often, someone who is an amazing leader, you, and is incredible with her clients, you, will come into this situation and be like, I need to be a salesperson. I need to follow my questions, and I just need to be a better, different version of myself. Or they do 180 the opposite, which is they're like, I'm just going to coach. I'm just going to come in and be myself and be my coach. I'm just going to be with them, and they're going to figure out that I'm great and that they need to work with me. Neither one of those is the right way to do this. What you want to do is bring that version of yourself who can just be with your clients in moments of vulnerability, and combine that with a discovery call conversation. So I want to bring that persona that you're being into this safe environment. So how do we do that? I want you to think about a situation with a client that you've had, and think of it right now. What's a time recently when a client came to you and they were sharing something difficult? They were confiding in you. Think about that and bring that to mind. How did you be in that moment? How were you being with them? You were being not the one who's like, hey, let's get them and go, motivated, or hey, let's do whatever. But you were probably in your compassionate self and understanding. You probably also had good boundaries of this person needs a safe ear. They need to know that they can share these things and I'm not going to fall apart. So you were probably a more firm version of yourself. That's who I want to be doing the sales call, because you're going to ask those questions. And when you study the sales questions, you rehearse that and you internalize those questions, and you're going to be able to be present with your person as they confide in you. My client, Leslie, who was on earlier this season in the episode about personal expansion and how that drives business expansion, she used the word confide with me a while back. And I was like, oh, confide. I forgot about that word. I love that word. What a beautiful word it is. So let's talk about the word confide. Con means with, and fide, the root word of that, it means trust or faith. And you can even hear fide, confide, fed, faith. You can hear how that's the same root word, right? So when someone confides in you, also think about Fido, the dog's name. Fide, fidere, means loyal trust. This is what we're wanting to bring into this selling conversation. I want them to feel safe to bare their heart and soul to you in a way that you're going to be able to take that and say, I can help you with that. If you don't have that in a sales conversation, they don't get the value. I know it's weird, right? They don't feel like, I'm going to trust this person with our situation. So they don't believe they can trust you. They don't really believe you can do it. And it's not going to be valuable because you won't have hit on why it's actually painful. But they're a big organization. They're a company. But it's painful to individual human beings when things don't work at work, especially when they're great at their job. Do you know how upsetting it is to be like, everything's great, but my people don't come back from break on time? Or this digital transformation, which we have invested millions of dollars in, is failing. And I'm like, my head is on the chopping block. That's a painful situation. And if you can go in there and let them confide in you about how hard that is for them, then you have created a trusting relationship that will translate into them wanting to invest with you specifically on solving that problem. The third way that consultants really mess up on sales calls is that they don't emerge from that call with the business goal having been achieved. You are going into a discovery call for a particular reason. That reason is this company a fit for you? And if so, what are the specific qualifiers that make them qualified to work with you? And the other qualities which are going to help you to propose a solution and quantify the value of that solution. So often a consultant will come to me and say, Smith, how much should I charge for this? And I'm like, well, what's the challenge? And how much is that costing them? Well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, did you ask? No, I didn't ask about that. I'm like, what did you even do on 3 different meetings with the client? Well, I was afraid to ask about that. Okay, if you're afraid, then you don't have the level of trust with this client that you need to help them. And if they won't, well, I asked them about that, but they wouldn't answer it. Okay, they don't trust you yet. Right? Doesn't mean they're not going to trust you ever, but you didn't create enough safety for them to share that information with you yet. Well, they might know that I'm asking that question because then I'm going to price it high if it's an expensive problem. Really? Are people thinking like 4 moves strategically down the road? I don't think they are. I think if you can sit with this client and help them realize what a huge monetary mess they're in, or what a huge emotional cost this is taking on their organization, that's beneficial for them to realize, oh my gosh, this is actually urgent. It's important for us to do this. And you seem to know how to do this, so we're going to hire you. That's what happens when you do these things. So what's the business goal of a discovery call? Are they a fit or not? So not a fit, not your client, refer them away. That's fine. And by the way, I just want to say, if you don't close someone who isn't your client, I don't care. I don't want people to have a 100% close rate because if you get on a call with somebody and you're like, well, they weren't a great fit, but I closed them anyway. No. You want to close 100% of your perfect clients, of the perfect fit for you. Okay. So if somebody doesn't close and you're like, wow, I do a lot of sales calls where I don't actually close them, then you need to look at your marketing because you're getting too many leads coming in that are not a fit for you. You need to qualify leads better before you get on calls. So back to discovery calls. What do I need to find out on this thing? Demographically, are they a fit for you? I know that seems weird, but you can get on a call and find out, oh, this organization doesn't do what I thought they did, or it's too small, or other things that make them not a fit for you. So the demographic is the first thing to check. Also, I'm not dealing with the decision maker. The decision maker needs to be on the call. The economic buyer needs to be on the call with you. If you do a preliminary call, and I know this is in some situations and some organizations, you start with somebody and then they'll bring in the economic buyer so they don't waste the economic buyer's time. It's less than ideal, but realistically, that does sometimes happen. So demographically, is this the right organization, the right fit for us? Psychographically, those are things like motivations, needs, desires, qualities of them. Like, do they resemble your perfect clients? What are your perfect clients' qualities? Mine, for example, like they implement like crazy. They're fun to work with. They're motivated. They're doing great stuff in the world. Those are the psychographics things. You'll choose those for your own clients to make sure that they're a fit when you got them on the call. A little rapport will elicit that information for you, and that's in your sales script that you're following. What else do I want to find out? What are the problems or challenges? And are those the ones that you solve? What outcomes do they want to have? What do they want it to be like when the problem is solved? They need to have a picture of success. Sometimes they don't have a clear idea of what they want it to be like when the problems are solved because they're so immersed in the muck of the current situation. That's okay, but that's a thing for you to know. Sometimes my perfect clients don't know how they want it to be instead. Okay, so you could say that is a fit for you. If you need them to know what success looks like, then you can say, not a good fit for me. Sometimes people in organizations just don't know what things would look like if they didn't have that problem. Like they can't imagine what success would look like because they've just never seen it. If that is a fit for you and your perfect client, then they're a fit for you. Next thing you want to ask about is the value, which means like, what would it be like if this were solved? And then the cost. Why is this bad? What's this costing your organization? How much have you invested in this problem? What else have you tried? And did that work for you? Those are all things that you can ask to discern what the cost of this problem is. What's the magnitude of the thing? And what would the value to them be of you working with them? The difference between a $300,000 engagement and like a $30,000 engagement is in those answers. I don't try to sell people 100K engagements if they don't have a problem that necessitates that. However, if you have somebody who's like, well, the impact of this would be $30 million, then don't go in there and charge them like 20K. Get the value out of it that you deserve from correcting problems of that magnitude. Here's the miraculous thing that happens. When you do this right, the proposal writes itself. You've got a copy of my $1 million proposal template, I hope. When you have that, you just plug in the information from here into that format. It's just like aligned like this. Why? Because the things that I've just outlined for you are also the messaging in your marketing. So your marketing messages outline those things. Your discovery call outlines those things. Your proposal outlines those things. It's like, hey, here's the problem or challenge. Here's the outcome you're looking for. Here's what you've tried before that didn't work. Here's the value of what it's costing you. Here's the solution I would provide to you. And here's the investment level. All of that nice and neat in there. If you have that kind of client, you can deliver that information on the call first before you ever go away and prepare a proposal. That's the ideal thing. Sometimes you need to go away to your workshop and calculate some things, and then you can do that. Never go and prepare a proposal on spec. That means without having had someone at that organization say, yes, we are ready to do that with you and invest that much. Then you go away and do a proposal. Okay, cool. When you do sales calls this way, when you are very precisely scripted and following that, because you've rehearsed it a lot, when you are creating this safe space, even if it's not an intimate one-on-one call, even if you're in a room with 10 other executives, it's a group buying process and they're sharing with you the situation, you can still create that kind of safety. And when you are actually coming out of those discovery calls, having achieved the business goal, then you're going to find things are so much better for you in your business because you're closing those potential clients who are your client. Here's the deal. The way I teach to run a consulting business with those 5 to 10 perfect clients, transformational engagements at the base of your pyramid, you don't need to do that many discovery calls because you're only enrolling 5 to 10. And if they're like my clients, they renew year after year. And so I don't have to do that many discovery calls to get those one-on-one clients. That can mean you get rusty. Okay. That can mean you forget actually how to do this. And I want you to remain good at it. So either you're doing a couple of discovery calls every single month to enroll those next clients, or you're practicing with people. Don't let that muscle go soft on you because you're going to want to be able to enroll people when they are the right fit. I want you to be good at sales because I want you to be rich and I want you to be able to serve everyone who needs to be able to work with you. I don't want you to have a sales process that takes too long or that deters them and sends them away from you. So think about sales, think about practicing it. And with that, I am wishing you a profitable and joyful consulting business. Thank you for watching. To learn more about how to build a consulting business where you work exclusively with perfect clients on transformational engagements and build a profitable and joyful consultancy, then please subscribe to our channel and be sure to click the bell to get notifications when new episodes come out.